Okay, on today's particular video that we have here, we're going to talk about texting campaigns. And as I'm going to clarify here in a moment, I'm not talking about actual Google ad campaigns with text ad extensions here. I'm going to actually talk about something to do with actually the roundabout way to explain this is to say that you want the consumer that you want to buy your product to text you back, either start to facilitate in some way the process of that customer or client, it could be technically, buying from you. This is based upon real case studies that I've ran, and I use those case studies that I've ran to put together this video here to explain what kind of results I got from it, which I'm going to explain in a moment, and actually how to implement this for your business. At least for with the examples I've given for the industries I've given them in, it gives you enough ideas to be able to implement this for your business. Since pretty much you could take the same exact concepts here, maybe tweak them just a little bit, they'd work for your business too. If you're looking for more conversions, your campaigns, they're not really producing quite the way that you wanted them to. They're not producing the ROI that you're looking them for. You could totally reinvent your entire strategy just by tweaking the what they call a marketing call to action. In other words, if you don't know what that is yet, what you're asking the user to do. So PPC is all predicated around getting people to do your call to action. Your call to action, if you're e-commerce, is simple. Do they buy the product or not? That is, if you're selling a cheaper product that usually doesn't require a step in the middle where the consumer says, yeah, I want that, but I got to call and talk to a salesperson first, i.e. you're selling something more than a couple $100, oftentimes, especially if it's not that clear cut, they'll have to, so your call to action more so, even though you have a way for them to check out, is to call you, or you're just straight up generating leads for your campaign, for a service that you have, or maybe even a product that can't be ordered directly through the website. You're generating leads. You're going to be able to use the call to action in that case is what you're asking them to do, which is to call or fill out a form or whatever it is. The whole point of the campaign is to get them to do that one thing. That's the call to action. What we're going to do in this video is talk about how texting, that is the mechanism of asking somebody to use their text function on their phone to text you as the call to action, as a way to increase your conversion rates on the PPC campaigns that you're running. This, of course, would improve the conversion rates on all your site's traffic. It's the same thing, but because I'm a PPC guy, I'm just going to cover the PPC stuff this time around. You can use it for whatever you want as well. So texting-based PPC campaigns, an interesting hack on producing higher results for your PPC account or campaigns that you're running. So as usual, I have a short list of things I'm going to cover here that's going to go over all the details you need to know to be able to pick this up and add some more revenue and profit to the campaigns you're running. First thing, what are typically thought as texting campaigns, quote unquote, and why what I'm doing here is different. I kind of explained that. Essentially, there's a way, so Google picked this up actually a while back, about a year or two ago. You can add now as an extension on your campaigns, which you could still do this, and if you're going to do this thing, you might as well just do it too, but it's just not what the point of this main video is about, since everybody kind of knows about that, and the video would be boring. But I'll add that in. Basically, on your Google Ads, there's ad extensions. Those are like what they call like the site links. Basically, you could have a site link. The site link is a specific extension on an ad. So in other words, you have the ad, and then you have your things underneath the ad. It could be your location, if you have your account hooked up to Google Maps. It could be your phone number extension. It can be site links that link to other pages on your site other than the main link that goes to a landing page, which has to be different. There's a whole bunch of different ones. Over the years, Google's come out with more and more because, most people have figured out they want the ads overall to take up more real estate on the page so that the organic listings get pushed down. It means more revenue for Google. And as a side note to that, I found if you add too many site links, you can actually hurt your click-through rate on your ad, because now your ad just looks like a huge wall of text and it doesn't help anything. So experiment using less, and it goes for this too. But you can use a texting extension where you can actually have the user text you as a way of generating a lead, just like you can have a call or phone number extension there. If they click on it, then you're paying money. So you can, if you're going to do one, I recommend doing the other, and maybe it'll add to. Not always does that work. It should work if you're going to do this other stuff, but I'm just throwing a caveat out there. Test it both ways. But that's what most people are thinking about when they mention quote-unquote text campaigns. And this is about, again, response on your site. A lot of people, if you're generating leads, if your call to action, as I was mentioning before, is not to just get the person to check out on the page with no interaction with your company, then you got to generate a lead. You got to get the person to respond. So you can, through email or through the telephone, typically then, as most people think about it, convince that user to buy, answer their questions, which is a part of the consultative sales process, or just sales process in general. I've thought, because, and this is actually especially true of the younger audience out there, less and less people like talking on the phone, so they like texting more, which is why email is popular. But a lot of times people will have on their site a form, which the form is rather long and cumbersome, which can be a problem in itself. The longer and more sophisticated and more questions you ask, the less conversion rate you're going to get people filling out that form. And with that concept, and taking that into consideration, what I thought to myself, what if we made the process even more simple, where all that person had to do is to text a number on the site for somebody who traditionally doesn't like talking on the phone, but doesn't want to fill out the stupid form. They don't want to fill out and put the email address and go to their email, and it's just too complicated. Not everybody has an email. It takes a long time to respond to it. What would happen if we had a third option, which you never have to just eliminate options. Different people have different communication methods, but what if you had an option on the page that says, to book a time, just text this number, say what time. It cuts out a lot of the BS also, because if you have to fill out the form, as you know, you got to wait for somebody to email you, and probably they're going to call you anyway, as people know. And they don't want to talk on the phone, and of course so they don't know if it's call or email. I mean, of course you could state that on the form. We will email you back, but it just overcomplicates the process. If you have something where they could text reply or text a reply, they know that you're not going to probably call them up after that. You're going to text them back, or so is the thought, and tested this and verified this. I mean, not 100% of the time, nothing's for sure in this world, especially when it comes to marketing. But there'll still be a small percentage who just want to call, and there'll be just a small percentage who don't want to text. They want to fill out the form. So if we're going to have a call to action, which is to text the time that you would like to book an appointment for, or whatever, to come out and get a demo or an address or whatever you're doing there for your call to action, what you want the user to do, we have a texting option. You can say, you have the phone number up top. People inherently know upper right or down in the footer the phone number is there. You just have it there by default. If you don't have the phone number, you're really shooting yourself in the foot, because just what I said a minute ago, some people will just not fill out a form. If you don't have a phone number, you're going to lose leads, bottom line, 10, 20, 30%. If you have a phone number and no form, some people might be in a noisy environment. They can't respond by phone at the moment. Or their wife is there and they don't want their wife to know that they're ordering whatever. So there's reasons other than just the preference. So there's different situations. So you add there next to the form, or text us what time you'd like to set the appointment. That's what we typically did when we ran these tests, and how we got the results. I'm going to explain it here in a moment, how we implemented it. So again, just to bottom line don't replace all other means of communication to respond for your call to action with the text, no matter how well I'm saying that this ultimately works. Just add it as another option. It's a nice, safe test for you to run that way too, because if you have something that works, you can't be that. I mean, of course, on a landing page, as I've said on the other videos, if you add too much information, that most people don't need, and overall that most people don't need it, in that it slows people down overall, then your conversion rates get hit. But I've found there's enough people, obviously, through the numbers here, that like the texting option, and it's as little of a burden being there, just that little added text, that overall it helped versus hurt. Obviously, it won't be the case for every single market. I would assume that if you're selling to just elderly people, that's going to be a waste of time. But the younger crowd you're selling to, or if you just have a younger crowd that's in there, like half is younger, half is older, I recommend for sure trying this out. So you put it in there, and that's what you do. Of course, you can also go one step further in your ad. You could say, text a time to reply. You could go one step further. If you watch my video about live chat, I also mentioned I've done the same thing there. Some people just want to talk to a person right now through live chat. We put in the ad for a translation company, was the example I gave there. Live chat, translation expert, Spanish to English expert, available now through live chat, online, whatever. I don't know the exact words I used there, but that was essentially the premise. And then when they get to the page, the first thing they saw was a pop-up with the expert there saying, how can I help you with your Spanish to English translation? And that produced crazy good results in terms of, of course it gets a lot of tire kickers, but the good people, you're not going to get near as many if you don't engage them in a conversation. Just like if you take somebody to a car lot, if somebody comes to your car lot and you're selling cars and you just sit in your office, wait for people to come up, you're going to sell half or less as many cars as if your salesperson comes out and just talks to people, because that gets the conversation going. So potentially you can experiment with this as well. Other than just the text extension anyway, you can put in there, you only got to text us a time. It might be enough, depending on how young your crowd is and how apt they are to like that feature, that might boost your revenue to dollars spent on ads, just all in itself, adding that too. So when you do the on-site and it works a little bit, add it to your ad. Maybe it'll help you out a little bit more. So anyway, how does this work again then? As a booking engine, so this works as a booking engine. How can that work? So the example where I tried this out was a laser hair removal clinic. And so basically the general premise is the user, if you're going to get laser hair removal, if you're a female, obviously some males, but you go type that into Google, you find an ad, you go to the page, and then you have to fill out a form as usual, or you can call. That said, we had a third option, just like I was explaining a minute ago to you before, where the person could just text to get there, and there was small instructions there. Essentially, just text us the time and the date that you'd like to come in, and we'll consider your appointment filed. Now, that people sometimes have, like on similar medical clinics, I've seen the online booking process. That thing is so cumbersome, most people won't want to do it. And this is just like the simplified version of that. Your receptionist can get the text, they see the text, they check the calendar. Yes, it's more time to do it that way, but you're going to have a much, much higher conversion rate compared to using an online booking system that can check and see if that date and time is actually booked or not. And if the secretary, in this particular case, the secretary saw the time was filled, they would just say, sorry, it's filled, but we have this, this, and this time. Which one would you like? They pick, boom. It's kind of similar to how you would do it face-to-face in the office. So the important part is it's just like a 3-step form process versus a 1-step form. I've explained on other videos. If you have a long form with 5 questions, and if you shorten it to 2 questions, and then when you submit, it goes to 2 more questions, and then you click next, and it goes to 2 more questions. You'll get more people filling that out than if it had one form right away with 6 questions, because they've got the commitment involved in the process. All you got to do is just get that user to take the first step forward, and once you've done that, then the rest is downhill in terms of the user's perception. So if you don't have the time, very, very, very little of the time are they going to not just pick another time once you've got that started. It's about getting the momentum moving forward for you as quickly and easily as possible. That's going to make you the most money. So if they text and ultimately, as I said, have to just easily oh, I just got to text this number saying the time. It's easy for them. They don't have to fill out some BS form. And as a secondary stat for you as well, there was a survey, I've mentioned this before, where people were asked if they would rather clean a toilet or fill out a web form. They'd rather clean a toilet. So that's, I think, skewed towards the older demographic. They don't, a lot of times they type one letter at a time. They probably, for that reason. So in the younger demographic that we're going for with the text, probably have less of a problem. But again, there's uncertainty, how they're going to contact me, when they're going to contact me with this. Am I going to have to check my email? Maybe they won't email me right away, so I'll have to keep checking my email. The text, the user kind of assumes I'm going to get a reply right away, or so they think. As you know, I've tested the program. I haven't actually surveyed the people doing this, but I'm just assuming that if I text them, they're going to text me right back saying confirmed or whatever, and it's done already. Any business model, by the way, as I've said before, where you can streamline the process more than the competition, you're going to by default win. For anything that doesn't have, just in general, I won't get any more specific than that, but you're just streamlining the process for them, so that's why I said in the ad, maybe you experiment with mentioning that you can book appointment through text on the ad, because it's just who are you going to go with. I don't care who it is. The one that makes it the easiest is the one I'm going to go with, which is why landing pages are so important, and simplification and not having too much information, but having enough, just the right amount. And then the text takes us one step forward. But in that particular case, please text us a time and to book your appointment. That increased the conversion rate on the page by 50%, right in that range. Not exactly 50%, but just about 50%. And so that was one instance where I used that. The other instance was the user was in I can't tell the exact industry, but industrial parts. Sold some sort of specialized industrial parts, and there was an option there that said text me a quote. So basically in that particular market, you have to order like sometimes 25 or 50 of the part, fasteners, whatever they're, and or the parts itself on industrial equipment is what it was. Basically, you have to find out the price, and you don't have the price on the site, so you have to fill out this form to request a quote, and then they have to wait to get it back. And a lot of times the person buying is just trying to figure out and get as many quotes as they can as quick as they can. Whereas if you could just text, a lot of times those people are busy working on stuff that are ordering. Not always, maybe it's a guy sitting at an office not doing anything but that, but a lot of times it's mechanics that they have to get the quote. So just being able to text and say, I need 25 of this, and then we'll send you the quote amount back. Then you know that you don't have to work as much, and maybe you just stop your search right then, because so again, some people will need multiple quotes and you can't stop them, and I think they go and get them anyway. But you're making it, ultimately people come to your page and then they decide, is it worth it to respond or not? And the barrier for them in terms of energy-wise, in terms of responding, is going to be lower overall if you have the texting option, to where they'll actually go forward and get the quote. Even if they were intending on getting the quote from you anyway when they get there, it's all about they're tired, how much time is this going to take, is it confusing, all that stuff. It just makes it easier for them to deal with. With that, we had a 100% increase in conversion rate of people having to fill out the request a quote form versus being able to text and just ask what the price was on a particular item in a certain quantity. So big results there. So in a nutshell, overall, you can use this in a lot of different service fields. Anything where you're booking a time or requesting a salesperson to call you at a certain time, or, of course, getting a quote on something. Obviously, in the quote situation, it's a little hard because it's harder, even though we got the results here, is that in the service space where you're offering one type of service, and going one step further, if you offered laser hair removal and acne care services like at a dermatology clinic, you would want a separate phone number for each service, so when they text, you don't have to give them any instructions to say what they need. To book a laser hair removal treatment appointment, drew a blank there for a second. Text this number about what time and date. Make it simple for them. You could go the same thing with these parts. Now, if you have too many parts, you obviously can't do it. But to get a quote on 4.5-inch washers for such and such and such and such, then text the quantity that you need to this number, and we'll text you back a quote if you want the best possible results right away. You add that words right away in there. Then they know if they're in the middle of fixing something or doing something, they can get back to work as quick as possible. And then, of course, you got to have someone on the other side that can respond right away. But that really, really, really helps the user and pays off handsomely when you do it ultimately as well. So with that, I would recommend going that way. If not, of course, they have to text. They have to tell you what they want. Just text our quoting department what you want and the quantity, and we'll text you back right away what the price is on what you need. Again, key being saying right away in that situation is going to get you the full result here. Otherwise, it's probably not going to get near the result, maybe half that, if you don't make it easier and faster versus just easier. And then, with that pretty much, I guess, explains the nature of what you're doing there. But again, just to clarify, in this particular situation, in the industrial part space, the form is still there. Fill out this form for a quote, or just text us how many you need. We'll text you back a quote right away to your same phone number. So easy thing to implement. Obviously a little harder to execute because most people are used to. And as a general note, if somebody fills out a form, if you don't reply within 15 minutes, the likelihood you're going to get a hold of that person goes down dramatically the more time out of that 15-minute window from the time they initially fill out the form, the longer you wait. So normally you should be on those anyway. It's a little hard to deliver a quote in 15 minutes or within that 15 minutes or whatever, which, but along those same lines, to take it one step further, the reason why right away works is because you're capitalizing on that fact that you're going to get almost twice as many sales anyway, just from them being able to, them not getting distracted or forget about it or whatever. The closer to the time they initially request, the time you get back to them, you're going to get that gain. But if you combine that with the ease, all I know is we got a 100% increase on the fact that they had that option and that we would get back to them right away and actually did. So double the sales literally just from that one factor. If you didn't get back to them right away, I'm assuming that you'd still get a 50% increase just on the amount of people that like love the feature of just being able to text the number, say what they want while they're on their cell phone. As a final note about this, the text option, you could technically, if you wanted to get super savvy or sophisticated about it, you could have one version of the landing page for just mobile, one versus desktop, and then you could have a greater feature or highlight of the texting option, as well as a campaign, by the way. If they're on a mobile device, the ad says text us for a time or text us for a quote on the ad, and then gets them to a page where the text option's more highlighted, more in front and center, and that will work great, assuming that it's somebody on a mobile device. Whereas if they're coming in on a desktop device, they have that option, but it's not nearly as prominent. That I haven't actually tested yet, but I would assume that that's going to help you even a lot more than what I've mentioned here, because you're going to get a lot more people to click on your ad, which is going to reduce your cost per click at the same time of increasing the conversion rate on the page. I would assume instead of 50 or 100, if you did it that way, and just we're talking about mobile only traffic here, this is going to be closer to 100 to 200, really. To separate it out so that mobile goes to mobile and desktop goes to desktop, you would just create two campaigns. You'd copy the campaign you have. One would have a negative 100% mobile bid, right? And then one would have 0% mobile bid under the device settings, and the bid settings under the device menu on those campaigns. Then you can be assured mobile sees one version of the ad. Of course, there's a checkbox under the ads too, where you can say mobile device sees this, but that doesn't assure you then at that point, that just makes sure you have a mobile version of the ad for that user, but you don't have a landing page that's mobile specific for that user either. Of course, most people have responsive designs, which will respond based upon the user screen width. But again, if the whole idea being here that I think that if you do have in the ad, the main feature being you can text us for a quote or a time, and it's once they get to the page, that feature should be more front and center than normally that it would have been. And it also, of course, when you're on a mobile device, is harder to fill out a form on top of all of this. So it makes it even better. Also, another reason why you're getting this kind of results on a campaign when you do this text call to action feature on your landing pages. But realistically, if I were to do this again for either of these situations and I had the capability and the power to do it, may still do it back for this laser hair removal clinic, I would have it broken out to just mobile and have the mobile page with just the texting feature on it as a way to bump up our results. And basically above the form, before you even see the form, text us a time that you would like to book your appointment for the laser hair removal treatment, or fill out the form below. Versus if you were to do desktop and mobile together, I would probably stick with the form first, and then below it, at least for what they're going to see on mobile, text us the time that you would like to book. That way, or in general, it doesn't get too much in the way for desktop users. If you can set it up to where when the page responds, the texting feature is up top. Actually, I think that's, thinking about this again, that would be the way that you'd want to try to do it. I think it's important on desktop that you don't burden them with the text option that shouldn't be there, and they shouldn't have to hop over that. But if you can make it so when they on mobile, they don't have to hop over it and actually see it first, that's what you want. So in that situation, if you can make the page responsive and they see the text option first for the call to action, and then you have on your desktop campaigns, you select make a mobile version and then make a mobile version ad that mentions you can text to get your appointment time within like 60 seconds or something like that. That might be a way that you wouldn't have to run two campaigns and would actually help your results even more than the kind of numbers this can provide all in its own. As a final kind of way that you can use this, there's, as far as a bonus goes, you could do a text me when you're back in stock. So a lot of times if people are out of stock, even at COVID days, it's, that's the situation. So basically, if you have a product out of stock, we've also done this too, text me when we're back in stock. That way you're not just losing the user, and they're not going to fill out a form because they're just not going to. They're too in a hurry for that. They need to go find who they can get the product from for somebody else, and they want to save their energy for that. But if they could just simply fill out a box, text me when you're back in stock on this item, and they just got to put in their cell phone number there, that will actually get you responses. I'm trying to think the last time I've done it more than once now, what the response rate was. I'm going to say something like 10 to 20% at least on those times that they hit the page that they're going to give you the number, which it's not a game changer, but it's just all free money. So why not try something out like that? Of course, I mentioned also when we're open. So if you were, for instance, not open or couldn't serve clients, I haven't done this one, excuse me. Basically what you would do is when we're available to take your order again, instead of just out of stock, when we're able to take your order, whatever it is that you can't do, text me when you can do it. See, that could be applied to many different things. Okay, so anyway, that kind of spells out everything about these texting campaigns and the concepts here at play. I hope you go ahead and do them for yourself and add a little bit of extra oomph to your campaigns that may not be producing quite good enough yet, or just get a little bit of extra profit out of them. Just a quick, easy thing you can do. If you like this video, I have a lot of other videos just like this on this channel about other various PPC strategies. You can also go to my blog at guaranteeppc.com/blog to see step-by-step strategies on how to build campaigns like this. If you'd like that kind of format, on how and to follow strategies like this for yourself. If you have any questions about texting campaigns, anything I didn't mention here, questions about doing your own, leave a comment below. I will get back to you. I get back to everybody as far as their comment, so don't be afraid to ask a question. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video and hope that you also spend some time and actually try this out for yourself. It does work.